Have you ever felt stuck in life? Like you keep trying to change, but no matter what you do, you end up falling back into the same patterns. Maybe you've promised yourself you'll eat healthier, or exercise more, or spend less time on your phone. But somehow, a week later, you slip back into old habits. It's frustrating, isn't it? We blame ourselves for lacking willpower, or think maybe change just isn't possible. But the truth is, it's not you that's broken. It's the system you're using. This book, Atomic Habits, by James Clear, has changed millions of lives because it reveals a simple but powerful truth. Success doesn't come from one huge decision. It comes from the small choices you make every day. Think about it. A plane that shifts its course by just a few degrees ends up in a completely different city. The same is true for us. A tiny shift in our daily habits can completely change the direction of our lives. James Clear calls these tiny changes atomic habits. They're small like atoms, but just like atoms are the building blocks of matter, small habits are the building blocks of success. In this audiobook summary, we're going to break down the most important lessons from Subatomic Habits You. We'll explore why habits matter, how they shape our identity, and how to build a system where good habits grow and bad ones disappear. And as we go through each chapter, I'll share simple, everyday stories, so you can see how these ideas apply to real life. So, let's begin this journey. Chapter 1, The Surprising Power of Atomic Habits. When we think about change, most of us dream big. We say, I want to lose 30 pounds, or I want to save $10,000. The problem is, when the results don't come quickly, we get discouraged. But James Clear teaches us something powerful. Small habits may seem meaningless today, but over time, they compound into extraordinary results. Imagine this. Sarah, a young teacher in Texas, wanted to get healthier. At first, she thought about joining an intense gym program, but her schedule was already overwhelming. So she started small, just 2 push-ups every morning, right after brushing her teeth. At first, it felt silly. 2 push-ups couldn't possibly change her life. But after a week, 2 became 5, and 5 became 10. A month later, she noticed her energy was higher, her mood was better, and she was motivated to do even more. That's the power of compounding. Just like money grows when invested over time, habits grow when repeated daily. Every action you take is like a tiny vote for the type of person you are becoming. Here's another way to see it. If you get just 1% better each day, by the end of the year, you're not slightly better, you're 37 times better. But if you get 1% worse each day, the opposite happens. This is why habits matter so much. They shape the curve of your life, upwards or downwards. Think of David, a software engineer in California. Every afternoon, he reached for a can of soda at his desk. It seemed harmless, just 1 can. But over 5 years, that daily habit added up to weight gain, low energy, and even health problems. One small choice, repeated over time, made a huge difference. The lesson is clear. Habits are like compound interest for self-improvement. Small changes may not seem noticeable right away, but given time, they create massive transformation. The takeaway, tiny habits, repeated consistently, can change the course of your life. Chapter 2, How Habits Shape Your Identity. Most people think change starts with setting goals, like, I want to lose weight, or I want to get a promotion. But James Clear says, real and lasting change begins with identity. Instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, focus on who you want to become. Imagine John, a young man in Ohio. For years, he tried to quit smoking. He would say, I'm trying to quit. But each time, stress at work or a night out with friends pulled him back. One day, he shifted his perspective. When someone offered him a cigarette, he simply said, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. That small change in words was powerful. He wasn't trying anymore, he was becoming. And slowly his identity caught up with his new actions. This is the key. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to be. Do 1 push-up, you're voting for the identity of an active person. Write 1 sentence, you're voting for the identity of a writer. Each vote may feel small, but together, they shape who you are. Think about Emma, a college student in New York. She wanted to be more confident. Instead of setting a goal like, I will speak at big events, she focused on identity. She asked herself, what would a confident person do right now? So in class, when the professor asked a question, she raised her hand, even if she wasn't sure. Over time, those small acts built her identity as someone brave enough to speak up. This is why goals can sometimes fail. If you set a goal to run a marathon but see yourself as not an athlete, it's a constant battle. But if you start believing, I am a runner, every mile you run reinforces that belief. Identity drives habits, and habits reinforce identity. It's a cycle, and you get to choose which direction it spins. The takeaway: don't just chase goals. Become the kind of person who naturally lives them. Chapter 3. The 4 laws of behavior change so far. We've learned that small habits create big results, and that true change comes from identity. But how do we actually build habits that last? James Clear gives us a simple formula. 4 laws of behavior change. Think of them as the rules of habit building. The first law is make it obvious. Habits often fail because we forget them. Imagine Emma, who wanted to practice the guitar every day. Her guitar was always in the closet, out of sight, out of mind. So she placed it on a stand in her living room, right where she could see it. Every time she walked by, the guitar reminded her of her intention. That little change made her practice far more often. The second law is to make it attractive. We are more likely to repeat habits that feel rewarding. Think about Sarah, who wanted to run in the mornings. She hated getting out of bed in the dark, so she started pairing her runs with her favorite playlist. Soon, running wasn't just exercise. It was her chance to listen to music she loved. By making the habit enjoyable, she stuck with it. The third law is to really make it easy. Most of us think motivation is the key, but actually, simplicity is more powerful. David wanted to eat healthier, so instead of making complicated meal plans, he cut up fresh fruit on Sunday and left it in containers in the fridge. When he felt hungry, the healthy option was right there, ready to grab. By lowering the friction, he made success almost automatic. And finally, the fourth law is satisfying. Our brains are wired to repeat what feels rewarding. Joan wanted to save money, so every time he transferred cash into his savings account, he marked a big green check on his calendar. That visual satisfaction kept him motivated to keep going. These 4 laws make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying, or like a blueprint. If you want to build a good habit, follow them in order. If you want to break a bad habit, reverse them. The takeaway: design your habits so they fit naturally into your life, and they'll be almost impossible to ignore. By Chapter 4, the role of environment, when most people try to change their habits, they focus only on willpower. They say, if I just try harder, I'll succeed. But James Clear shows us something different. It's not just about self-control. It's about the environment around us. Think about it. If you walk into your kitchen and see cookies on the counter, you're far more likely to eat them. But if the counter has a bowl of fresh fruit, the healthy choice becomes natural. Our surroundings quietly shape our decisions every day. Let's look at a real example. David, a young professional in Seattle, wanted to drink more water and cut down on soda. At work, the vending machine was filled with sugary drinks, and every afternoon he gave in. So he made one small change. He placed a large water bottle on his desk, right where he could see it. At the same time, he stopped keeping cash in his wallet, so buying soda from the machine became harder. Within weeks, he noticed he was drinking more water, simply because his environment made the choice easier. Here's another story. Emma, a college student, wanted to study more consistently, but her dorm room was filled with distractions: her bed, her phone, her television. So she started going to the library. There, the environment was quiet, focused, and designed for studying. The change in location gave her the focus she had been missing. This is why environment is stronger than willpower. When your environment supports your habits, you don't have to fight with yourself. The right surroundings make good choices obvious, and bad choices harder. James Clear even suggests environment design. If you want to play guitar more, put it in the middle of the room. If you want to read more, place a book on your pillow every morning. If you want to stop watching television, unplug it, and put the remote in a drawer. The lesson is simple but powerful. Don't rely only on discipline. Shape your environment so that discipline becomes almost unnecessary. The takeaway: change your surroundings, and your habits will change with them. Chapter 5, The Plateau of Latent Potential. One of the most frustrating things about habits is that results often feel invisible at first. You may work hard every day, but nothing seems to change. James Clear calls this the plateau of latent potential. Imagine this. Emma, a young writer in Boston, decided to write 500 words every day. For weeks, she felt like she wasn't getting anywhere. Her friends would ask, "Have you finished your novel yet?" And she would sigh, thinking all that effort was useless. But she kept going, on and day, after months of writing quietly every morning. She looked back at her progress. She had already written an entire draft of her book. All that effort that felt invisible had quietly been adding up. Think of it like an ice cube in a cold room. At 25 degrees, nothing happens. At 30 degrees, still nothing. But at 32 degrees, it suddenly melts. Habits often work the same way. The results are not linear. They appear suddenly after a period of consistent effort. Here's another example. Joan wanted to learn the guitar. He practiced 20 minutes every day, slowly learning chords. At first, he sounded awful. It was easy to feel discouraged. But one day, he realized he could play an entire song smoothly. The breakthrough came not from one magical day, but from all the small practices stacked over time. This is why patience is key. We often give up right before the results start to show. But small, consistent actions, even when they feel ineffective, are powerful. The magic happens quietly, behind the scenes, until suddenly your progress becomes visible. The takeaway: stick with your habits, even when you see no immediate results. Consistency compounds, and breakthroughs often come when you least expect them. Chapter 6, Breaking Bad Habits. While building good habits is important, breaking bad ones is equally crucial. The same principles that create good habits can be used to weaken the ones holding us back. James Clear explains that bad habits follow the same 4 laws of behavior change, but in reverse. Imagine Emma, who loves scrolling social media late at night. She noticed it was affecting her sleep, mood, and productivity. Instead of relying on willpower, she made small changes. She put her phone in another room before bed and replaced the habit with reading a book she enjoyed. The urge didn't disappear instantly, but it became easier to resist. Here's another story. David had a habit of eating fast food on his lunch break. It was quick, convenient, and tasty but unhealthy. To break it, he made it harder to access. He stopped keeping cash for vending machines and deleted food delivery apps from his phone. He also made healthier lunches the night before, so the easy choice became the good choice. The key idea is simple. To break a bad habit, make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. Remove triggers, increase friction, and reduce the immediate pleasure. When bad habits no longer fit easily into your life, your brain will stop seeking them automatically. Think about John, who wanted to stop biting his nails. He painted his nails with a bitter-tasting polish and kept gloves handy when stressed. The habit didn't vanish overnight, but the consistent small barriers helped him gradually stop. Breaking bad habits isn't about forcing yourself to resist all the time. It's about designing your environment and routines so that bad choices become harder and good choices become easier. The takeaway: make bad habits unattractive and difficult, and they will naturally fade away over time. Chapter 7, The Power of Tracking. One of the simplest ways to make habits stick is to track them. James Clear explains that what gets measured gets improved when you see your progress. It motivates you to keep going. Imagine Sarah, a young professional in Chicago, who wanted to save money. At first, she just tried to be mindful of her spending, but it wasn't working. So she started writing down every expense in a small notebook: groceries, coffee, online shopping, everything. Seeing the numbers on paper made her more aware of her habits. She realized she was spending hundreds of dollars on small, unnecessary things. The awareness alone inspired her to cut back and save more each week. Here's another example. David wanted to improve his fitness. Instead of vaguely saying, "I'll exercise more," he kept a simple calendar. Every day he completed a workout. He put a big X on the calendar. After a few weeks, he loved seeing the chain of excess. It motivated him to keep the streak going. Even missing a day felt noticeable, which encouraged consistency. Tracking also works for building positive habits. Emma wanted to read more books. She created a reading log and checked off each chapter she finished. Over time, she realized she had completed 5 books in just a few months, all because she could see her progress. The takeaway: tracking habits creates awareness and momentum makes consistency easier. Chapter 8, The Goldilocks Rule. Have you ever noticed that some challenges feel exciting, while others feel impossible or boring? James Clear calls this the Goldilocks Rule. We stay motivated when tasks are not too hard, not too easy, but just right. Imagine John, a young guitarist in New York. At first, he tried to play songs that were too difficult. He got frustrated, felt stuck, and almost gave up. Then he started picking songs that were slightly above his skill level, challenging, but achievable. Practicing these songs felt satisfying, and he kept improving every day. Here's another story. Sarah, a marketing assistant, wanted to get better at public speaking. She avoided big conferences at first, but joined a small team meeting to present an idea. It wasn't too easy. She had to focus and prepare. It wasn't too hard. She could manage it without fear. The result: confidence grew, and she gradually took on larger presentations. The Goldilocks Rule explains why consistency is easier when the challenge fits your current abilities. If something is too easy, your mind gets bored. If it's too hard, you get frustrated. The key is finding the sweet spot that keeps you motivated and engaged. This rule applies to all areas of life: learning, fitness, work, and creativity. By aiming for slightly challenging goals, you grow steadily without burning out. The takeaway: stay in the zone of optimal difficulty. Not too hard, not too easy, just right for progress. So Chapter 9, Success is a system, not a goal. Most people focus on goals, the outcomes they want to achieve. I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want a promotion at work. But James Clear emphasizes that goals are about results. Systems are about processes. And it's the system that actually produces the results. Imagine David, a software engineer in Seattle, who wanted to run a marathon. Instead of obsessing about the finish line, he built a system running 3 times a week, tracking distance and time, gradually increasing intensity. He focused on showing up consistently, not on how fast he could finish the race. By the time marathon day came, he was ready. The race became a natural outcome of the system he had built. Here's another example. Emma wanted to write a book. Rather than setting the goal of finishing a 300-page manuscript in 3 months, she committed to writing 500 words a day. Some days she wrote more, some days less. But the daily system kept her moving forward. Months later, the book was complete. All because she focused on the system, not just the goal. Goals are good for setting direction, but systems are what get you there. Focusing solely on goals can create frustration when progress is slow. Focusing on systems creates momentum, builds identity, and makes success inevitable over time. The takeaway: don't just chase goals. Build systems that naturally produce the results you want. Chapter 10, How to Stick with Good Habits Every Day. Building a habit is one thing. Sticking with it consistently is another. James Clear explains that the key to daily consistency is creating routines that make habits easy, attractive, and satisfying. Imagine Sarah, a busy nurse in Chicago, who wanted to meditate every morning. At first, she struggled to find time. Mornings were hectic and evenings were tiring. So she attached meditation to an existing habit, making her morning coffee. While the coffee brewed, she meditated for 5 minutes. It was simple, obvious, and became part of her daily routine. Here's another story. John wanted to journal every night. He made it enjoyable by lighting a candle and playing soft music while writing. The habit became something he looked forward to, not a chore. Consistency also grows when you track habits and celebrate small wins. Emma wanted to run regularly. She marked every completed run on her calendar, creating a visible chain of success. Seeing the streak motivated her to maintain it, even on days she felt tired. Another trick James Clear shares is reducing friction. If a habit is difficult to start, you're less likely to do it. For example, David wanted to do push-ups every morning. He left his workout clothes next to his bed, so getting started required almost no effort. The takeaway: make habits easy, attractive, and rewarding, and consistency will follow naturally. Chapter 11, Advanced Tactics: How to go from being merely good to being truly great. Once you've built solid habits, the next step is mastery. James Clear explains that small improvements, repeated over time, lead to remarkable results. The key is not to chase perfection, but to focus on continuous improvement. Imagine Emma, a pianist in Los Angeles. She was already good, able to play songs confidently, but she wanted to become truly great. Instead of practicing randomly, she focused on the areas where she struggled, refining her technique one small step at a time, every day. Tiny improvements stacked up, and over months her performance transformed. Here's another example. David, a writer in New York, wanted to improve his storytelling. He reviewed each piece critically, asked for feedback, and experimented with new styles. At first, the changes seemed minor: a better sentence here, a stronger paragraph there. But over time, these small adjustments elevated his work from good to exceptional. James Clear calls this process deliberate practice. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. Focus on weaknesses, track progress, and continuously refine your approach. The takeaway: small, deliberate improvements every day turn good habits into mastery. Chapter 12, The Truth About Talent Twine. When genes matter, and when they don't, many people think success is all about talent, that you either have it or you don't. James Clear explains that while genetics can influence natural strength, habits and consistent practice usually matter far more. Imagine Sarah, a young athlete in Denver. She wasn't naturally fast at running, but she wanted to improve. Instead of giving up, she focused on consistent training and refining her technique. Over months and years, she improved dramatically, competing at levels she once thought impossible. Here's another example. John, a student, always believed he was bad at math. Instead of blaming himself, he created a habit of practicing math problems every day for 15 minutes. Slowly, the daily practice strengthened his skills, and eventually he became one of the top students in his class. The key idea is this: talent can give you a head start, but habits determine how far you go. Your daily actions compound, often outpacing natural ability. Even people with moderate talent can achieve remarkable results if they consistently focus on good habits. The takeaway: genes may influence where you start, but habits decide how far you go. Chapter 13, How to Review and Adjust Your Habits of Building Habits is not a one-time effort. It's an ongoing process. James Clear emphasizes the importance of regularly reviewing your habits and making small adjustments to improve over time. Imagine Emma, a marketing manager in Boston. She had been tracking her daily exercise and healthy eating for months. Every Sunday, she spent 10 minutes reviewing her week. She noticed that she skipped workouts on Wednesday afternoons, so she adjusted her schedule and moved workouts to the morning. Small tweaks like this made a big difference over time. Here's another example. David wanted to improve his productivity at work. He reviewed his daily tasks and realized that long meetings were eating into his focus time. He experimented with shorter meetings and blocking specific hours for deep work. The adjustments helped him get more done without feeling overwhelmed. James Clear calls this the process of habit reflection. Look at what's working and what isn't. Celebrate your successes and gently adjust areas where you struggle. By reviewing habits regularly, you ensure continuous improvement and avoid slipping back into old patterns. The takeaway: regularly review and tweak your habits. Small adjustments lead to steady, lasting progress. Chapter 14, How to Make Good Habits Inevitable and Bad Habits Impossible. James Clear explains that the key to long-term success is not just trying harder. It's designing your life so that good habits are easy to do, and bad habits are hard to do. Imagine Sarah, a college student in New York. She wanted to drink more water and cut down on soda. Instead of relying on willpower, she placed a large water bottle on her desk and removed soda from her fridge. Every time she felt thirsty, the easiest choice was water. Over time, drinking water became automatic, and soda became less tempting. Here's another story. David wanted to stop snacking late at night. He made unhealthy snacks harder to access. He put them on a high shelf and out of sight, and replaced them with healthy options like nuts and fruit on the counter. The environment made bad habits inconvenient and good habits effortless. Clear calls this choice architecture. By shaping your environment, you can make positive behaviors almost automatic, while creating friction for negative ones. The more you design your environment for success, the less you have to rely on willpower or motivation. The takeaway: make good habits easy and obvious, and bad habits difficult and inconvenient, and your environment will guide your behavior naturally. Chapter 15, The Cardinal Rule of Behavior Change. James Clear highlights one simple but powerful rule. 5 repeatedly rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. Asterisk, asterisk, in other words, our brains are wired to prioritize instant gratification. This is why habits often fail. The rewards of good habits are often delayed, while bad habits feel good immediately. Imagine John, a young professional in Chicago who wanted to eat healthier. Salad and exercise felt slow to reward him, while a slice of pizza gave instant pleasure. To make his healthy habits stick, he paired them with immediate rewards. After a workout, he allowed himself to enjoy a relaxing coffee break. Suddenly, the good habit felt satisfying, and he repeated it consistently. Here's another story. Emma wanted to stop biting her nails. She applied a bitter, tasting nail polish, making the bad habit immediately unpleasant. Over time, the negative feedback helped her quit the habit naturally, without relying on sheer willpower. The cardinal rule shows us that to build lasting habits, we must make good habits satisfying, and bad habits unsatisfying. Instant feedback is a powerful motivator. Use it wisely. The takeaway: reinforce good habits with immediate rewards, and make bad habits unpleasant, and your behavior will follow naturally. Chapter 16, How to Keep Your Habits on Track. Even after building good habits, staying consistent can be challenging. James Clear emphasizes the importance of tracking, accountability, and self-reflection to maintain habits over the long term. Imagine Sarah, a young teacher in Boston, who had started exercising daily. Some days she felt motivated, other days she didn't. To stay consistent, she tracked every workout on a calendar and shared her progress with a friend. Knowing someone else was aware of her habit made her more likely to stick with it. Here's another example. David wanted to reduce his screen time in the evenings. He reviewed his progress weekly and asked himself, which nights did I succeed, and why? Which nights did I fail, and how can I improve? By reflecting and adjusting, he learned patterns and made small changes to stay on track. Clear also suggests habit contracts. Make a promise to yourself or someone else, and define consequences for missing it. This adds accountability and increases the likelihood of long-term consistency. The takeaway: track your habits, reflect regularly, and create accountability. Consistency grows when you stay aware and adjust as needed. Chapter 17, The Truth About Talent. Many people believe that success is all about natural talent, that you are either born with it or you're not. James Clear explains that while genes can influence certain abilities, habits and consistent practice usually matter far more. Imagine Sarah, a young athlete in Denver. She wasn't naturally fast at running, but she wanted to improve. Instead of giving up, she focused on consistent training, gradually increasing her speed and stamina. Over time, she improved dramatically and competed at levels she once thought impossible. Here's another example. John, a student who always thought he was bad at math, decided to practice problems for 15 minutes every day. At first, progress was slow, but over months, his skills improved, and he eventually became one of the top students in his class. The key idea is simple. Talent might give you a head start, but habits determine how far you go. Your daily actions compound over time, often outpacing natural ability. The takeaway: genes influence where you start, but habits decide how far you go. Chapter 18, The Goldilocks Rule. Have you ever noticed that some challenges feel exciting, while others feel impossible or boring? James Clear calls this the Goldilocks Rule. We stay motivated when tasks are not too hard, not too easy, but just right. Imagine John, a young guitarist in New York. At first, he tried to play songs that were too difficult. He got frustrated, felt stuck, and almost gave up. Then he started picking songs that were slightly above his skill level, challenging, but achievable. Practicing these songs felt satisfying, and he kept improving every day. Here's another story. Sarah, a marketing assistant, wanted to get better at public speaking. She avoided big conferences at first, but joined a small team meeting to present an idea. It wasn't too easy. She had to focus and prepare. It wasn't too hard. She could manage it without fear. The result: confidence grew, and she gradually took on larger presentations. The Goldilocks rule explains why consistency is easier when the challenge fits your current abilities. If something is too easy, your mind gets bored. If it's too hard, you get frustrated. The key is finding the sweet spot that keeps you motivated and engaged. The takeaway: stay in the zone of optimal difficulty. Not too hard, not too easy, just right for progress. Chapter 19. The downside of creating good habits. While habits are powerful tools for improvement, James Clear reminds us that they also have a downside. Good habits can make life predictable, and sometimes we become trapped by routines that no longer serve us. Imagine Emma, a young professional in Seattle. She had developed a strict morning routine: meditation, exercise, and planning her day. For years, it worked beautifully. But when her job changed and she needed more flexibility, the rigid routine became stressful. She realized that habits, while helpful, should also allow room for growth and adaptation. Here's another example. David, a student, developed a habit of studying the same way every day. It helped him excel in exams, but he avoided new methods or exploring creative ideas. Eventually, he understood that habits shouldn't limit experimentation or curiosity. Clear emphasizes that the goal isn't to follow habits blindly. We must review them regularly, adjust when necessary, and ensure they serve our evolving goals. The takeaway: habits are powerful, but stay mindful. Make sure they continue to serve your growth, not restrict it. Chapter 20. Conclusion theory. The secret to results that last after exploring all the lessons in Why the Atomic Habits. James Clear reminds us of one final truth. Lasting change doesn't come from willpower or motivation alone. It comes from building small habits, designing your environment, and focusing on identity-based growth. Imagine Sarah, a young teacher in Boston, who started with 2 push-ups every morning. Over time, she added more exercises, tracked her progress, and refined her routine. Years later, she looked back and realized she had transformed her health, all from small, consistent actions. Here's another example. John, a writer in New York, began writing just a few sentences a day. He focused on identity, seeing himself as a writer, and celebrated small wins along the way. Eventually, he finished a full novel. The transformation wasn't sudden. It was the result of steady, intentional habits. James Clear's message is clear. Small changes compound into remarkable results. Focus on your identity, design your environment, track your progress, and make good habits satisfying. These strategies create momentum, and over time, extraordinary results become inevitable. The takeaway: lasting success comes from tiny, consistent actions that reflect the person you want to become. So, what is one small habit you can start today that your future self will thank you for? Remember, even the tiniest habit, repeated daily, has the power to change your life. If you enjoyed this summary and want more audiobook insights delivered in a calm, easy-to-follow style, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. We explore practical lessons from the world's best books, helping you learn faster, grow smarter, and apply ideas to your life. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and join our community of lifelong learners today.